Bennett has a question. Mr. Bennett.
I want to hear the law again. I want to see what the policy says.
The law says that school boards which govern a local system that has been declared to be an academic crisis shall not consider, review, or act upon charter applications for a Type 1 charter school, and shall notify the proponents of any pending Type 1 charter proposal or any newly submitted Type 1 charter proposal that the board is ineligible to act upon such applications, and that each such applications may therefore be submitted to the state board as a Type 2 proposal.
The operative word I heard that was notification. I heard the word notification there. Is that right?
Correct.
Well, that's the word I would go with.
Yeah.
However, the law applies to Type 1 charters, not Type 2. Because the law says shall not review Type 1.
Mr. Garvey.
The law doesn't cover that.
Yes, sir. I would suggest that going with the motion that's on the table right now complicates matters, possibly leads to legal issues that I think we should not risk getting involved in. So I would suggest that we do not approve the motion and go back with the original motion.
Well, first of all, do we have a second to that motion by Mrs. Givens?
And if you go back, Mr. Chair, to the original motion, then what happens?
Well, we received the
Just
report.
receive the report on the eligibility of Type 2, and they do whatever it is that they do. That's fine. I withdraw my motion.
All right.
I'd like for some information in December, and the information that I want in December is tell me specifically when this district comes from under academic crisis, because I have a huge problem understanding how you take away all of the underperforming schools and still have a district in academic crisis. So whatever it takes to get them from under that, that's what I want to know in December.
Mr. Chairman.
It will take all audit findings being corrected.
Okay.
From which audit, Joe?
We're past all that.
No,
We understand that. Let's.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, y'all agreed that that was done.
The audit findings we saw Tuesday, they were very, very minor. Probably if you look across this state, you'll find 80% of the school systems having the same ones. So I feel certain that Mr. Pastrick is going to work to take care of this issue. And I've had some conversations with him.
Mr. Chair, you know, for the record, we have been working with the department in removing ourselves from high risk. But as Attorney Morris has said, it has gotten convoluted that high risk and academic crisis are the same thing, and we see those as two different things.
We understand that. I think the board's clear on that. So, Mr. Garvey, I think we're back to needing a motion on number 8, please.
Okay, on
I withdrew my
motion
objection.
of Ms. Bradford, seconded by Mr. Bennett, the State Authorized School Oversight Committee recommends that the board receive the report on the eligibility of Type 2 charter school proposals for Orleans Parish.
Do I have a second to that?
Mr. Chair.
I'll second.
All right, second by Mr. Roman. Ms. Given.
Also reiterate my request to the superintendent's office that I be given a list of the reasons that we are still talking about this. I want to know what audit findings,
All right.
from what year. Because if you say audit findings, well, every year they're going to be our audit findings.
Yes.
But at this particular point in time, I want to know what audit you're talking about.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any objections to, do I have a second with Ms. Dastia?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Romer, excuse me, has already seconded. Any objections? So moved.
Thank you. Thank you.
We move to 10I, Student School Performance and Support Committee. That would be Mr. Bennett.
Mr. President, on behalf of the Student and School Performance and Support Committee, I move approval of items 1 through 19, noting items 10 through 16 are NOI.
Mr. Chairman,
Chair.
I would like to pull item 5
Yeah.
for discussion, possible action.
All right, pulling item 5. Do I have a second to Mr. Bennett's motion?
I'll second his
Ms.
motion.
Ms. Bouquet, seconds.
I'd like to
Any
speak.
objections?
Yeah. I'd also
So
like to
moved.
pull number 8 just to ask a question.
5 and 8 pull.
Board members, we, on the science textbook adoptions that we considered on, I guess, Tuesday, we deferred on the high school science, and we approved the recommendations on the elementary and middle school science. There has been some information provided, I think, to most of us, if not all of us, about, and this comes from Brenda Nixon at the Kane Center at LSU, that in the Innovative Science Learning Delta Education Full Option Science System, the acronym is FOSS, the recommendation was that we accept the 3rd through 5th grades, but not the K through 2nd grades. In the past, and I'm remembering the English language arts, Bessie allowed districts where if you approved one level, that you would allow, for continuity's sake, that the district, at their choosing, would be able to use the full complement of that series. I think in this case, there's been a pretty strong case that these are very valuable in the K-2, and that would allow a school district to start in this and continue up through 5th. So I'd like to make the motion that that we allow that flexibility in the decision that we made on Tuesday.
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Ms. Dasty, seconded by Mr. Lee. Any objections?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Ms. Bouquet.
I wondered why this was not approved. You know, there must have been some reason. And
Yeah.
I understand, I've read the email and so forth. I just want to know why it was not. Was there an objection, or was it an oversight?
Ms. Bouquet, it was not an oversight. The vote was 6-5, and the reviewers based their decision primarily on alignment to GLEs. They looked at everything that we had in our evaluation forms, but the most important basis for their decision is alignment to GLEs. But as you can see,
lack of alignment?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chair?
Mrs.
So if
Johnson.
we allowed it, then I would think that we would want that noted, that if you did adopt it, then you should go back and add things to it. You know, because if I am a teacher sitting out there and it's approved, then I'm going to think it's already passed the
I
alignment
think that's a very
test.
good point, and I think anyone using it, because I guess no textbook has 100% alignment. Is that correct? There
That's
must be some
correct.
threshold, and I'm looking at some data provided to me that the majority of them have been met, and I think it looks like it's very few that have not. So probably that could be done fairly easily.
Good. I'd go with the motion if you amend it to say that the notification will be attached.
So
You add that?
so amended.
Order your motion. Okay.
I'll work with Bessie staff to clean it up.
All right, Mr. Lee.
I need a little bit of clarification. I thought the recommendation at committee was for approval, and that was a motion that was made, but the superintendent requested that we defer until December because of some people coming. He said
That was the high school
notified.
portion.
Well, it is high school life sciences. I appreciate it.
No, the
That
subject we're
was,
talking
yes,
about
sir.
is
The
K2.
high school life science approval is deferred until December.
Yeah.
This is a K-5 series we're discussing at this time.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Mrs. Johnson.
This is good. A number of people have called me, and this is one of the that I'd like to support because it does have the kindergarten piece in it. And from kindergarten, and yeah, everybody know I got the kindergartner. So from the kindergarten teacher that my little baby is in, they are using this. Now, one of the things that did come to my attention is that it may be a cumbersome kit. But other than that it is something that people can use and that they like it. So I think adding the note that the kindergarten portion does not meet 7 of the GLEs that we have. So I'm pretty sure that can be aligned fairly easily, I would think, and that they would be able to work with this. So I'm very much in support of this.
Okay, now before we vote on this, the chair needs to do a little housekeeping. Mr. Bennett had the original motion to approve all items but 5 to 8. Are there any objections to that motion? Then that motion is approved. Now we're ready to vote on Ms. Dastu's motion regarding item 5. Any objection? That motion's passed. And we're on number 8, I think.
I just have a question on number 8, and we tried to raise it the other day, and maybe and I've raised it before. I'm trying to really understand the term excess capacity. Now, I have people who tell me that has to do with building space, but for some reason, I want to know, once and for all, what does that mean? I know, but that's why I'm getting them on the record, what it really means. Truly, I know that. Yeah, you know, or in which district?
Ms. Jones?
The definition of excess capacity as defined in the legislation is that school districts, if you don't have to get a waiver, if school systems can prove that they actually have space, they have the excess capacity within their school district, and that they do not need to go outside of the individual school district in order to contract with either child care or Head Start.
So it does not mean 35 by 75 square feet
It has
per
nothing
child.
to do with licensing.
But it also doesn't mean that if I have 22 kids, and that's what I want in my class, that I can go to 30. See, I'm trying to understand what this really means.
No. We have, with the early childhood programs, you have a max of 20 kids in a classroom.
Okay, so I have excess capacity because if 20 more kids came, I really have what? The teacher?
You have the space within your school district in order to serve those 20 kids. You do not need to contract. Basically, when you're contracting with child care or Head Start, it's because of capacity. It's because your school district does not have the space in which to put another class. But if you can prove that within your school district you have the space to open a class, then you're not required to contract or subcontract with either child care or Head Start.
I think we got that.
Okay.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson?
It gets on the record that it means space.
Okay.
It means
right.
space.
All right, we need a motion for item number 8.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lee, seconded by Ms. Dasty. Any objections? Items approved. That completes the board committee reports. I have an apology to make to Mr. Lee. Legal Due Process Committee, he's chairman of it. We skipped over him and allowed him to do it. I'm sorry that happened, Mr. Lee.
Did we?
All right.
We move to item 11, which is Board Advisory Council reports. There are no council reports this month. Item 12, Board Advisory Council appointments, which would be behind tab 12 of your packet. And we do have one addition to the Advisory Council appointments that we'll read into the record. Excuse me, it is the appointment of Ms. Betty Brackens to the Textbook Media Library Advisory Council. Upon recommendation of Ms. Dastug, Ms. Brackens replaces Mr. Fred Banks on the council.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Johnson, second by Mr. Lee. Any objections? So moved.
Item 13, receive and/or refer items A through J.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Johnson. Second by Ms. Bouquet. Any questions? Motion approved.
Item 14 on the agenda, which is the backup, is on page 25 of your packet. Consideration of appointing an individual to represent the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education on House Bill Number 1491, Act 758 Study Group, under the leadership of the Board of Regents, and authorizing the chair of the Non-Public School Commission to appoint a member of that group to also serve on the study group as required by House Resolution Number 204 of the 2010 regular legislative session.
Mr. Bennett, did you wish to speak to that?
No, I don't.
Just want to make a motion.
I'll make a motion.
All right. Motion by Mr. Bennett that would allow, I assume we allow the president to make that appointment for the board.
I'll second that and recommend that Mr. Bennett serve.
Second.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Any objections? So moved.
Excuse me, Mr. Geis, just for clarity, I don't think it's proper for Mr.
Right.
Bennett to make the motion that he be appointed,
I'll
so...
make the motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Okay.
So which one is he doing? Representing Bessie?
Wait,
And then there...
You're representing Bessie?
And the non-
let me recommend Ms. Beeben to represent the department and Bessie. She's been working with us very closely and knows exactly what we're trying to accomplish.
Is that permissible?
That's fine.
All right. Everyone in agreement with that?
Yeah.
All right.
Ms. Beeben, you okay with that? Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, emergency agenda, item 15, receive and/or refer, item A.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Johnson, seconded by Mr. Garvey. Any objections? So moved.
Item 17 on page 2, consideration of the composition of the Louisiana School and District Accountability Commission.
I'll move that we approve the parents. I'm just trying to figure out how we making that determination on who they are. Is this a Bessie, will this be Bessie appointees? Are we asking the PTA? I mean, how are we doing it?
Ms. Johnson, I can tell you what I know. This is a request to you from Superintendent Pastrick that you expand the commission membership slightly. The logistics of that, we can do however you want. If you would like to make nominations or put out some names, I'd be glad to collect those from you and then give them back to you, or, you know, it's really however you want to do it. We would recommend you expand by about 4 people. And we'd be glad to help in that process. I could work with Ms. Vosberg to come up
Mr.
with the
Chairman,
procedures.
I have another question. Is there an open Bessie position on accountability?
There is one.
Okay, thank you.
Am I correct?
I think so.
There are 4 currently and 1 vacant from Bessie.
Okay.
I'd like to suggest that you ask the state PTA and/or PTO to recommend a parent, but I'd also like to suggest that you also look at, I think there's a special education advisory parent group or something to that effect that do get one of those parents.
You can do that. Ultimately, the members would be ratified by you, as they always are, but we can certainly seek some names for you.
All right. So we'll let the department work with Ms. Vosberg to come up with the slots, and
That's fine with me, unless there's a particular way you wanted to do it other than that.
that's fine.
Do that.
All right, do I have a motion to that effect by Ms. Johnson, I think? Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Dasty. Any objection? So moved.
Thank you.
Item 18 on page 3, consideration of emergency allocations and grant awards is recommended by the department for the department and board agencies.
I move approval, excuse me, move approval.
I'll
I
second.
have a motion by Ms. Bouquet, seconded by Ms. Dasty. Any objections to the approval? Motion's approved. I think we need a motion to adjourn. Unanimous motion? Unanimous pass.